Through the tiny barred window of cell number 312, the first rays of dawn broke the stillness at Riverdale Prison. The silence of the early morning was shattered by a blood-curdling scream. Officer Jack Morgan, who was making his routine rounds, froze at the threshold of the cell. Lying motionless on the cold concrete floor, in a pool of blood so dark it was almost black, was the body of Marcus Reed. The deep, clean cut across his neck left no room for doubt. He was dead. Code red. Cell block C, cell 312, Morgan said, his voice trembling as he spoke into the walkie-talkie. Minutes later, the hallway buzzed with guards and medical personnel. But there was nothing left to save. Dr. Olivia Bennett knelt beside the lifeless body, checked for a pulse, and shook her head. Time of death was approximately 6 to 8 hours ago, she reported. Between 10 p.m. and midnight. Marcus Reed, 35, was a well-known inmate at Riverdale. He was serving a 15-year sentence for armed robbery and aggravated assault. Inside the prison, he had carved out a reputation. Some inmates feared him, others sought his protection. Now he lay on the floor, eyes open and glassy, staring lifelessly at the ceiling. Detective Lauren West arrived at the prison an hour later. Tall and commanding, with piercing gray eyes and dark hair pulled tightly into a bun, she had a reputation for relentless pursuit of the truth. It was no accident that the Special Crimes Unit assigned her to the case. West had the highest case-solving rate in the department. "Who was the last person to see Reed alive?" she asked, turning to Warden Higgins, an older man with a stiff posture and military demeanor. "The last check was at 9:30 p.m., he replied. Officer Ramirez confirmed Reed was in his cell alone and alive at that time. Alone? He didn't have a cellmate. There was Aiden Brooks, but he wasn't in the cell during the evening check. He worked in a laundry room. His shift ended around 11 p.m. Lauren narrowed her eyes. So, theoretically, Reed was killed after Brooks returned to the cell? It's possible, Higgins admitted, but the cameras on that floor haven't worked for 2 days. Maintenance issues. Lauren's eyebrows arched. A suspiciously convenient malfunction for a killer. Inside the warden's office, she reviewed the personnel files of both the victim and his cellmate. Aiden Brooks, 23 years old, serving 5 years for burglary. First major offense, prior misdemeanor. Second year in prison. Characterized as quiet, reserved, and mostly kept to himself. I want to speak with Brooks, Lauren said, closing the folders. And Officer Morgan, too. Aiden was led into the interrogation room, a bare space with a metal table and 3 chairs. He looked pale and exhausted. His blonde hair fell untidily across his forehead, and his hands shook slightly. Mr. Brooks, Lauren began calmly, I'm Detective West. Tell me what happened last night. Aiden swallowed, eyes cast downward. I was working in a laundry room. Got back to my cell around 11:30. Marcus was already asleep, or at least it looked that way. It was dark. I just lay down and went to sleep. And in the morning, Lauren pressed. Did you notice anything strange? Blood? That your cellmate wasn't breathing? No, I was tired. And Marcus, he usually slept with his back to the wall. Lauren studied his face. He was clearly nervous, but whether it was guilt or fear wasn't yet clear. What was your relationship with Reed like? She asked. Aiden looked up. His pale blue eyes seemed almost translucent. Normal, I guess. Like any cellmates. He helped me. Protected me. Protected you? From who? Had anyone try to hurt you? You know how it is for guys like me in a place like this, Aiden said softly. Lauren understood. Young, slight, and attractive, Aiden was the kind of inmate who could easily become a target in a maximum security prison. Reed had likely offered protection, but nothing in prison came for free. Nothing here is free, Detective, Aiden added, lowering his gaze. Lauren nodded, filing that away. After finishing with Aiden, she turned her attention to Officer Morgan, a stocky man in his 40s with a military-style haircut and a guarded expression. Walk me through everything you saw this morning, she instructed. How did you discover the body? Detective Lauren West asked calmly. During my morning rounds. Around 7 a.m., Officer Jack Morgan replied. The cell door was locked, as usual. I shined my flashlight inside. Brooks was asleep on the top bunk. Reed was lying on the floor, covered in blood. I raised the alarm immediately. Did you notice anything unusual during the night? Any noise, shouting, anything? She pressed. Morgan shook his head. The night shift was quiet. Nothing out of the ordinary. What about the relationship between Reed and Brooks? Lauren asked. Morgan shrugged, but something flickered in his eyes. Disgust, perhaps. Like most relationships in here, the older one takes the younger one under his wing. Brooks was special to Reed. Lauren probed. In that way, Morgan replied. Reed treated him like personal property. Wouldn't even let other inmates get near the kid. That answer lingered in Lauren's mind as she made her way to the prison infirmary. Dr. Olivia Bennett, a petite woman with sharp eyes behind fashionable glasses, greeted her with a clipboard in hand. Detective West, she said, I've compiled some preliminary notes. Lauren nodded. Cause of death. Massive blood loss, Dr. Bennett confirmed. From a severed carotid artery. The wound was deep, clean, likely caused by a shiv. Inmates can craft them from just about anything. Lauren tapped her pen thoughtfully. I'll need Reed's medical records. And Brooks's too. Dr. Bennett handed over 2 folders, but then gestured toward a specific entry in Reed's file. Take a look at the last note, she said. I had him in here just last week. Lauren flipped through the pages. Her eyes stopped on a date, March 12th. Then she froze. The test results were clear, HIV positive. We did routine blood testing, Dr. Bennett explained. Reed turned out to be infected. Did he know? Lauren asked quietly. Yes. I told him 5 days ago. How did he react? At first, shock, Bennett said. Then anger. He demanded we run the test again. Started shouting that it wasn't possible. I had to call security. And Brooks? Lauren asked. Was he tested? Yes, Bennett replied. His results came back negative. So far. Lauren closed the folders and tapped her fingers on the metal table, lost in thought. Were you aware of the nature of the relationship between Reed and Brooks? She asked. Dr. Bennett hesitated. Officially no, but in prison, very little stays secret, detective. Leaving the infirmary, Lauren knew it was time to confront Aiden again, with more pointed questions now that she had this critical piece of information. Back in the interrogation room, the young inmate looked even more strained than he had earlier that day. His eyes were puffy, and his hands fidgeted in his lap. Mr. Brooks, Lauren began, I've reviewed Marcus Reed's medical records. Were you aware of his HIV status? Aiden flinched, eyes wide. What? No, I didn't. What are you talking about? He found out 5 days ago, she continued. Given how close you two were, I thought he might have told you. We didn't have a relationship, Aiden said sharply, but his voice faltered. He was just my cellmate. That's all. That's not what Officer Morgan said. Or the other inmates, Lauren replied coolly. Aiden's face twisted. So you think I killed him because of that? Okay. Yes, we were close. But I didn't know he was sick. I swear. If you had known, what would you have done? She asked. Aiden's eyes filled with fear. He lowered his head, covering his face with his hands. I don't know. I guess. I'd have been scared. Lauren studied him closely. The fear appeared genuine, but something didn't quite sit right. Tell me again what happened last night, she instructed. Every single detail. I already told you, he said, his voice cracking. I worked in the laundry until 11. Took a shower. Got back to the cell. Can anyone confirm that? Officer Wilson was on duty. He can vouch for me. And after that, on your way back to your cell, did you see anyone? No. I mean, I saw Officer Morgan in the hallway near Block C. Lauren narrowed her eyes. That's interesting, because Officer Morgan told me he was stationed in another wing the entire night. Aiden's expression froze. Then, I must be mistaken. It was dark. Maybe I got confused. Lauren made a mental note of the inconsistency. Later that afternoon, she spoke with several inmates from Cell Block C. Most claimed they hadn't heard or seen anything suspicious during the night. But one older inmate, his arms completely covered in faded tattoos, pulled Lauren aside. Reed and Brooks, he said. They've been together for 6 months. Not for love, of course. Reed protected the boy, and the boy paid him back, you know how. Did they have problems recently? Lauren asked. The man nodded. Yeah, Marcus has been pissed. Real pissed. Last week, he was yelling at the kid. Accused him of something. said the boy betrayed him. What kind of betrayal? She asked. The man shrugged. You'd have to ask the kid. Lauren's instincts told her the truth was buried deep, and Aiden Brooks was the only one left who knew how it really ended. I don't know what it was, the inmate said, glancing over his shoulder nervously, but Reed looked like he was ready to kill him. Detective Lauren West left the conversation with a renewed sense of urgency and returned to the warden's office. Though the security cameras had been down on the night of the murder, she requested to review footage from the days leading up to it. Even if the crime itself hadn't been captured, the days prior might offer insight into a motive. Sifting through hours of footage, Lauren eventually paused on a scene in the mess hall. On the screen, Marcus Reed was visibly enraged, shouting at someone across the table. She zoomed in. The face was unmistakable, Aiden Brooks. Reed's expression was twisted with fury, veins bulging in his neck as he shouted. Aiden looked scared, tried to explain himself, but Reed shoved him aside and stormed off. The timestamp, March 14th, just one day after Reed learned about his HIV-positive diagnosis. Lauren leaned back, processing the scene. Could Reed have blamed Aiden for infecting him? But that didn't make sense. According to medical records, Aiden had tested negative. Unless the infection hadn't shown up yet. With that possibility in mind, she went to see Dr. Olivia Bennett again. Doctor, she began, is there any chance Brooks's results were inaccurate? Could the virus still have been in its window period? Dr. Bennett shook her head. The only time an HIV test might not detect an infection is during the window period, the first 2 to 4 weeks after exposure. But both Reed and Brooks were tested on the same day. Reed's test came back positive. Brooks's was negative. Lauren crossed her arms. What if Reed was infected by someone else? Dr. Bennett hesitated, then nodded. It's possible, although Reed was extremely protective of Brooks. He didn't let anyone near him. Are there other HIV-positive inmates in this unit? Lauren asked. There are 3, Dr. Bennett replied, cautiously. But that's confidential. Doctor, we're investigating a homicide, Lauren said firmly. In this situation, confidentiality comes second to public safety. Reluctantly, Dr. Bennett retrieved a list. Lauren scanned the names. One in particular made her pause. Jack Morgan? She asked. He's not an inmate. Dr. Bennett looked uneasy. No, he's a corrections officer. He's been undergoing treatment for several years now. That information is strictly confidential. Lauren leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. This changed everything. The puzzle pieces were starting to come together, but one final piece still eluded her. She made the decision to question Officer Morgan again. This time it would be off the record. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in cell block C had grown heavier with tension. Inmates spoke in hushed tones. Guards were more alert. Lauren pressed forward with the investigation, reviewing older footage from the past 3 months in a dimly lit archive room filled with flickering monitors. She observed the daily interactions between Marcus and Aiden. One thing stood out immediately, the power dynamic. Reed, with his heavily tattooed arms and dominating stature, always walked ahead. Aiden trailed behind, quiet and obedient, rarely making eye contact when Reed spoke. Classic predator-protector dynamic, Lauren muttered as she scribbled notes. Then came something surprising. On a recording from February 10th, another inmate in the mess hall attempted to sit next to Aiden. Reed reacted instantly, grabbing the man by the collar and hissing something into his ear. The inmate backed off without a word. No one else tried again. Possessive behavior, Lauren noted. But not just that. She began spotting subtle moments, brief glances, faint touches when they thought no one was watching. The relationship, while built on control, carried traces of something deeper, maybe even affection. Then, on March 1st, she discovered something that made her pause. Aiden was talking to Officer Morgan in a deserted hallway. The conversation looked tense. Aiden gestured animatedly, while Morgan stood stiffly, arms crossed. Then, glancing around to make sure no one was watching, Morgan handed Aiden a small package. Aiden quickly slipped it into his pocket. What the hell was that? Lauren murmured. She rewound and zoomed in, but the package was too small to identify clearly. Still, the exchange was clearly unauthorized. She dug deeper. On March 5th, she watched Aiden hand Marcus a package of similar size in the prison library. On March 7th, Marcus met with another inmate in the laundry room. Another exchange. Another package. Drugs, Lauren assumed. It was a familiar pattern in prison. A guard supplies the contraband. One inmate distributes. Another manages the protection. But something didn't add up. If Reed was so possessive of Aiden, she thought, why would he let him meet with Morgan alone? That contradiction stayed with her. It suggested one of two things. Either Reed trusted Aiden implicitly or he didn't know. Lauren's instincts told her there was more to the Morgan-Aiden connection than contraband. Now, she had motive, opportunity, and secrets, all waiting to collapse under the weight of one final truth. Something didn't sit right. Lauren decided it was time to question more inmates. Maybe someone had seen or heard what others missed. Her first stop was Raymond Carter, a sharp, observant 40-year-old serving time for fraud. Marcus had a reputation for knowing everything about everyone inside Riverdale. Reed and Brooks, he said with a knowing grin. Of course I knew about them. Everybody did. Reed took the kid under his wing from day one. Aiden was too handsome for his own good, if you catch my drift. Marcus protected him, and in return, well, let's just say there were favors. At first, Lauren asked. At first, yeah. Marcus nodded. But things changed. Aiden turned out to be smarter than he looked. He found a way to be valuable for more than just his face. In what way? Lauren pressed. Connections. Outside connections, Marcus said. His brother works for a pharmaceutical company. You know what I mean? Pills are worth more than gold in here. Lauren narrowed her eyes. Are we talking about drugs? I'm talking about business, detective, he said smoothly. Some guys in here need painkillers. Others want sleep aids. And then there are those who need something stronger, more recreational. Aiden became the middleman between the outside world and the inside. Marcus kept him safe, and in return, they ran a tight operation. And Officer Morgan? Lauren asked, her tone sharpening. Marcus fell silent. His eyes studied her carefully. Then, with a subtle nod, he said, yes. He was involved. Helped sneak the merchandise in. Turned a blind eye when needed. Got a cut, of course. So Morgan, Marcus, and Aiden were all working together, Lauren concluded. What went wrong? Marcus found out about his HIV status. That changed everything. Lauren leaned forward. Did he think he got it from Aiden? Marcus shook his head slowly. No, from Morgan. Lauren froze. What? Morgan and Marcus had history, Marcus whispered, lowering his voice. Long before Aiden showed up, Marcus liked power, liked to be the one in control. With Aiden, he was the dominant one. But Morgan was the only one Marcus ever let take charge. You understand what I'm saying? Lauren nodded grimly. When Marcus got his diagnosis, Marcus continued. He believed Morgan had infected him. He lost it. Threatened to blow the whole thing wide open to the warden, the state, everyone. The disease, the drugs. Everything. That would destroy Morgan's career, Lauren said. Marcus gave a slow, deliberate nod. The picture was shifting rapidly. Lauren thanked Marcus and headed straight for the security room, where she found Officer Morgan reviewing surveillance footage. Officer Morgan, she said, I need to ask you a few more questions. He tensed but nodded. Of course, detective. In private, she added, motioning toward an empty office. Once inside, she wasted no time. Tell me about your relationship with Marcus Reed. I've already told you, Morgan said stiffly. Standard guard-inmate relationship. And the non-standard ones? She asked. Like drug trafficking? His face turned to stone. I don't know what you're talking about. I have footage, Lauren said firmly. March 1st. You handed a package to Aiden Brooks. He gave it to Reed. I think the three of you were running a contraband ring. And I also know about your HIV status. Morgan paled. That's confidential. Medical information. You have no right. I have every right when it involves murder, Lauren snapped. Marcus found out he was HIV positive and blamed you. He threatened to expose you. That's why you killed him. That's not true, Morgan exclaimed. I didn't kill him. Where were you on the night of March 17th, between 10 p.m. and midnight? She asked. On duty. Block. he said quickly. It's in the logbook. Check it. I will, Lauren said, taking notes. In the meantime, tell me more about your smuggling operation. Morgan sighed, resigned. It wasn't just drugs. Not all the time. Mostly antibiotics, painkillers, blood pressure meds. Stuff that's hard to get through the official channels. How did it work? Lauren asked. Aiden's brother works for a pharma company. He'd get the supplies. I'd sneak them in. Marcus and Aiden handled distribution. Everyone benefited. And when Marcus got his diagnosis, he lost it, Morgan admitted, avoiding eye contact. Said I infected him. Screamed at me. Threatened to report everything. And so you killed him? No. I swear I didn't touch him. I wasn't even in the same cell block that night. Lauren stared at him. He looked terrified. But was it fear of being caught? Or of being wrongly accused? I'll verify your alibi, she said coldly. But until then, you're suspended from duty. With that, Lauren turned and left the room. Her next stop, Dr. Bennett. There were still a few medical details she needed to clarify, and the truth was getting closer. Lauren needed answers, precise medical answers. She returned to Dr. Bennett to clarify the final details that might tie the case together. When exactly did you inform Reed of his diagnosis? She asked. March 12th, Dr. Bennett replied. It was a Tuesday. He came in for his appointment around 2 p.m. How did he react? At first, he didn't believe it, she said. Then he exploded, blamed everyone. The lab, me, the prison administration. Said it couldn't be true. Claimed he'd always been the dominant partner in every relationship. Lauren leaned in. Did you tell him that Officer Morgan is also HIV positive? Dr. Bennett's eyes widened with frustration. Of course not. That would be a direct violation of doctor-patient confidentiality. Then how did Reed find out? Dr. Bennett sighed. Secrets don't last long in prison. Somehow word gets out. Lauren shifted the topic. What about Aiden Brooks? When was the last time he was tested? Dr. Bennett pulled up his records. March 6th. The result was negative. Lauren raised an eyebrow. But he insisted on being retested on March 12th. The same day Reed learned of his status? Dr. Bennett nodded. Yes, that struck me as odd. He seemed nervous and asked me to keep the second test a secret. From whom? He didn't say. But if I had to guess, Reed. The picture was beginning to sharpen, though there were still blank spaces. Lauren returned to the interrogation room to speak with Aiden Brooks once more. The young man looked more exhausted than ever. His eyes were hollow, hands trembling visibly. Mr. Brooks, Lauren said, her voice even but firm. I know about the arrangement between you, Marcus Reed, and Officer Morgan. Aiden flinched, but he didn't try to deny it. We didn't hurt anyone, he said softly, except maybe those who took the drugs without knowing what they were. But compared to what they get otherwise, it wasn't so bad. Tell me about your relationship with Marcus, Lauren said. Aiden was silent for a long moment. Then, in a barely audible voice, he began. At first, it was just a deal. He'd protect me, and I'd offer favors. But then I became useful in other ways. My brother works for a pharmaceutical company. He agreed to help. Marcus saw value in that. Things changed between us. You fell in love with him, Lauren said gently. It wasn't a question. Aiden lowered his head. Sounds stupid, doesn't it? Falling for a man who basically owned me. But Marcus wasn't always the tough guy everyone saw. In private, he could be gentle. And what about Morgan? Did you know he and Marcus had a relationship? Aiden's face twisted with resentment. Yeah, I knew. Marcus had needs I couldn't fulfill. Morgan gave him that. I didn't like it, but I couldn't do anything about it. I needed Marcus's protection. When did you find out about Marcus's diagnosis? Aiden froze. I didn't know. Lauren narrowed her eyes. You got retested the same day Marcus found out. Why would you do that if you didn't know? Aiden turned pale. He left his file in the cell. I saw the test results by accident. I panicked. But you didn't tell him? No. He would have thought I told someone else. That would have been the end of him. His reputation, everything. He'd have killed me. Lauren studied his face. Is there anything else you want to tell me? Aiden shook his head, not meeting her gaze. Later, Lauren verified Officer Morgan's alibi. The duty log confirmed he had been stationed in cell block during the hours of the murder. To be sure, she examined the surveillance tapes from that night. Every frame aligned with Morgan's story. He had never left his post. "So it's not him," Lauren muttered as she flipped through her notes. Still chasing answers, she turned her attention to the prison supply records. With help from a staff accountant, she uncovered a series of suspicious transactions tied to the medical storage unit. Large shipments of painkillers and antibiotics were being ordered, yet only a fraction ever reached the inmates. "Who receives these deliveries?" she asked the accountant. "Dr. Bennett signs for them, but the physical receiving is handled by Nurse Dalton." Lauren went straight to Nurse Dalton, a jittery, middle-aged man with watery eyes and a nervous twitch. The moment she mentioned the missing medications, he broke down. It was Dr. Bennett's idea, he admitted, voice cracking. "She said if we took small amounts, no one would notice. We split the profits." Lauren blinked, stunned. "You're saying Dr. Bennett orchestrated the theft?" "Yes. She ran the whole operation," Dalton confessed. "We sold the meds for cash on the outside. It was her plan from the beginning." Now the truth was unraveling faster than Lauren had imagined. What had started as a murder investigation had become something much bigger, one that reached into corruption, betrayal, and greed. And Dr. Bennett, the very person she had trusted with the medical facts, was at the center of it all. Morgan was sneaking some of the meds into the prison to sell to inmates. "The rest, we sold online," Nurse Dalton had said. This bombshell revelation demanded an immediate confrontation with Dr. Bennett. Lauren found her in her private office, calmly flipping through patient files. She didn't even flinch as the detective entered. "Dr. Bennett," Lauren said, her voice steady, "I have some serious questions about the missing medications." The doctor looked up, her expression unreadable. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Nurse Dalton confessed to everything," Lauren replied. "He said you orchestrated a scheme to steal medication from the prison supply. Some of it was sold to inmates through Marcus Reed and Aiden Brooks. The rest went to the black market." Dr. Bennett's eye twitched, but she remained composed. "You have no proof." "I have Dalton's full testimony," Lauren said. "And I'm willing to bet Morgan will talk too, especially when he finds out you try to frame him for Reed's murder." "I didn't frame anyone," Dr. Bennett said sharply. "No." Lauren raised an eyebrow. "You deliberately brought up Morgan's HIV status to Reed, knowing it would give him motive to kill. That's more than unethical. It's calculated." For a moment, the doctor said nothing, simply weighing her options. Then she sighed. "Okay, yes, we had a scheme," she admitted, "but I had nothing to do with Marcus's murder." "Then tell me about your relationship with him," Lauren pressed. "It was professional," Dr. Bennett said quickly. "Strictly professional." Lauren's eyes narrowed. "You were also the one who told him that Officer Morgan was HIV positive." Dr. Bennett went pale. "How did you—" "Reed found out about his diagnosis and made a scene," Lauren said. "He threatened to expose your entire operation. So, to protect yourself, you deflected his anger onto Morgan." Dr. Bennett lowered her head. Her voice, when it came, was barely a whisper. "He blackmailed me, demanded more drugs, more money. He said if I didn't cooperate, he'd go public with everything. I panicked. I told him he probably got the infection from Morgan." "You knew exactly what that would do," Lauren said. "You wanted Marcus to see Morgan as the enemy, not you." "I just needed him off my back," Dr. Bennett said. "But it didn't work. He turned around and started blackmailing both of us." Lauren's tone turned cold, and someone decided he had to be silenced. "It wasn't me," Dr. Bennett snapped. "I was at home that night, having dinner with friends. Ask them. I didn't leave until 11:30. Lauren jotted down the information. Another alibi to check. By the end of the second day, the scope of the corruption inside Riverdale Prison had become painfully clear. Dr. Bennett, Nurse Dalton, and Officer Morgan had conspired to steal medications and profit from them. Marcus Reed and Aiden Brooks had acted as distributors inside the prison walls. But when Marcus learned he was HIV positive, everything began to unravel. He blackmailed both the doctor and the guard, demanding more money and more power. Dr. Bennett, desperate to deflect blame, revealed Morgan's status, hoping to redirect Marcus's fury. But Marcus didn't let up. He continued applying pressure until someone saw him as a threat that needed to be eliminated. Determined to find the missing piece, Lauren returned to the surveillance footage, specifically the final day of Reed's life. On the afternoon of March 17th, Marcus met with Aiden in the library. Their conversation appeared tense. Aiden was gesturing wildly, clearly upset. Marcus shook his head firmly. Then, with sudden aggression, he grabbed Aiden by the arm and hissed something inches from his face. Lauren paused the video. "What happened between you two that day?" she wondered aloud. That question demanded an answer. The next morning, Lauren began the third day of her investigation by re-examining Reed's cell. The forensics team had already processed it, but she trusted her own eyes. Maybe they'd missed something. The small, windowless room held only the barest of possessions: tattered books, a few photos, and a handful of letters from his mother. Nothing stood out until she opened a worn copy of Crime and Punishment. A folded slip of paper slid from between the pages. Lauren unfolded it carefully. It was a handwritten letter, scrawled in Marcus Reed's sharp, angular script. It was dated March 16th, the day before he died. "If you're reading this, it means I'm already dead, or soon will be. I'm not afraid of dying. After what I've learned, life has lost its meaning. They all betrayed me. Every damn one I trusted. Bennett, with her fake concern, she's a liar and a thief. Morgan, who used me for years, knowing full well he was sick, he's a coward. But the worst of all is Aiden. I actually believed there was something real between us." Lauren's heart pounded as she read the final line. All this time, the sentence was unfinished, but the message was clear. Someone close to Marcus had silenced him, and now Lauren was closer than ever to uncovering who. He wasn't out for revenge on me. It was never about me. It was about Morgan. I was just a pawn in their twisted game. Not anymore. I've put together a full report. Names, dates, patterns, evidence. Everything you need to put them away for years. The documents are hidden where no one would think to look: inside the spine of a Bible in the prison chapel, third shelf on the left. Whichever one of them got to me first doesn't matter. I still won. They destroyed me, but I'll take them down with me. Lauren reread the letter twice, heart pounding. Then she stood abruptly and hurried straight to the prison chapel. It was a modest space, rows of simple wooden pews, a plain altar, and a worn bookshelf standing quietly against the far wall. She moved quickly to the third shelf on the left, as Marcus had instructed. Among the tattered Bibles, she found one that seemed slightly off. The spine looked uneven, just slightly swollen. Carefully, she pulled it out and opened the spine. Folded sheets of paper were tucked neatly inside. They were pages from a notebook, handwritten in small, meticulous print. Marcus had compiled a damning, detailed report on the web of corruption at Riverdale Prison. He documented smuggling operations, names of inmates and staff, dates, quantities, methods. It was all there, but that was only the beginning. A separate section was devoted to the personal relationships at the heart of the conspiracy, especially the connection between himself and Officer Jack Morgan. According to Marcus's notes, Morgan had known about his HIV-positive status for at least 3 years. He had intentionally concealed it from his partners, including Marcus. Dr. Olivia Bennett, the prison's medical officer, had helped him maintain the secret in exchange for his cooperation in the smuggling scheme. Lauren turned the page and froze. The final section was titled, Aiden Brooks's Confession, March 17th. The writing continued in the same sharp, confident hand. Aiden finally confessed. All this time, he's been using me to get revenge on Morgan. They're related cousins. According to Aiden, Morgan raped him when he was a child. When Aiden arrived at Riverdale and realized Morgan worked here, he came up with a plan. He knew about my relationship with Morgan and wanted to take me away from him. He also knew Morgan's HIV status, but never warned me. He hoped I'd get infected. That's how he wanted to hurt Morgan, indirectly. Ironically, I did get infected, but not from Morgan. That rat Rodriguez cut me with a shiv 2 months ago. Now I'm dying. And Aiden? He just looks at me with those innocent blue eyes and says he loves me. It's too late, baby. Too late for all of us. Lauren stared at the final line for a long time. With these documents, she finally had the full picture: motives, actions, betrayals. But one question still loomed over everything. Who actually killed Marcus Reed? Determined to get the answer, she returned to the surveillance footage one more time, focusing on the last hours of Marcus's life. At 11:20 p.m., just minutes before Aiden was scheduled to return from the laundry room, the camera near cell 312 captured a figure in a prison guard's uniform pausing outside Reed's door. The image was grainy. The face was obscured. Lauren immediately requested a full list of all officers on duty that night and cross-referenced their movements. That's when she noticed something odd. Officer Ramirez, who was assigned to patrol cell block C, was unaccounted for between 11:15 and 11:35 p.m. The same window of time, the unknown guard had appeared at Reed's cell. Lauren called Ramirez in for questioning. He looked nervous the moment he stepped into the room. "Officer Ramirez," she began, "where were you on the evening of March 17th between 11:15 and 11:35 p.m.? Ramirez fidgeted. "Patrolling my sector. As usual." Lauren didn't blink. "Records show you weren't in Block C during that time." Ramirez's face drained of color. I may have gone to the restroom. For about 20 minutes. She leaned forward. "Then why did the camera pick up a guard, someone in uniform, looking into Reed's cell at 11:20? Ramirez's hands started to shake. He covered his face. "I didn't kill him. I swear. I just opened the door." "Opened the door for who?" "Dr. Bennett," he said finally. "She said she needed to check on Reed right away. Something about side effect from his new meds." "You let her into his cell?" "Yes. I didn't know she was going to." "I swear I didn't know." Lauren's expression hardened. "So Dr. Olivia Bennett was inside Marcus Reed's cell that night?" "She asked me to unlock the door. Said it was urgent. I let her in. Waited in the hallway. She was there for maybe 5 minutes. And when she came out, she said Reed was asleep. Told me not to disturb him until morning. Said she'd given him something strong to help him sleep." "You didn't check his condition?" "No. She's the doctor. She gives the orders around here." Lauren's jaw tightened. The final thread had just been pulled. It was time to confront Dr. Bennett one last time. If she says the prisoner is fine, we don't argue. That was Officer Ramirez's final statement, and it was all Lauren needed. Without wasting another moment, Lauren made her way to the administration building, where Dr. Bennett had been relocated following her suspension for drug smuggling. She found the doctor quietly packing up her personal belongings, slipping framed photos and documents into a box with methodical precision. "Dr. Bennett," Lauren called firmly. The doctor turned, startled. "Officer Ramirez has just confirmed that he let you into Marcus Reed's cell on the evening of March 17th, shortly before his death." Dr. Bennett froze, still holding a framed photograph of her graduation. Her face remained unreadable, then cracked with tension. "That's a lie," she said quickly. "I was not in his cell." "We have witness testimony," Lauren countered, "and DNA results from the crime scene are on the way. This is your chance to tell the truth." Dr. Bennett's posture sagged. Slowly, she lowered herself into her chair. The confident mask she wore each day had finally slipped. "You don't understand," she murmured. "Marcus, he was going to destroy us. He had everything, proof, names, dates. He said he was going to hand it all to the warden in the morning. He would have ruined dozens of lives. Is that why you killed him?" Lauren asked, voice calm but cutting. "I didn't mean to," Dr. Bennett whispered. "I want to talk to him. I want to make a deal, money, outside connections, protection. I was willing to offer him anything to keep quiet. But he laughed in my face. And then I saw the shiv under his mattress. He had shown it to me earlier, said he took it from Morgan. He said it was symbolic, that Morgan's weapon would be his defense against all of us. But Marcus didn't expect you to use it against him, Lauren said. No one did, Dr. Bennett replied, eyes wet with regret. Not even me. He turned away, and I snapped. I reached for the blade, and suddenly there was blood. So much blood. It happened too fast. And Aiden, Lauren pressed. He returned just minutes after. Why didn't he raise the alarm? I don't know, Dr. Bennett said quietly. Maybe he didn't notice in the dark. Or maybe he was too scared. She hesitated just long enough for Lauren to catch it. Or maybe he wasn't on it. Lauren asked. No, Dr. Bennett shook her head. I acted alone. Aiden didn't know anything. Lauren watched her closely. The story fit, but one detail still nagged at her. If Aiden hadn't been involved, why didn't he react when he saw the body? Lauren decided it was time to confront Aiden Brooks one last time. She found him in his cell, pale and weary, as if he hadn't slept since the murder. He looked up when Lauren entered. "Mr. Brooks, I just spoke with Dr. Bennett," Lauren began. "She's confessed to killing Marcus Reed." Aiden blinked. His expression didn't register shock, only a strange, quiet relief. "I knew it wasn't Morgan," he said softly. "He wouldn't have done it. He couldn't have." She claims she entered the cell around 11:20 p.m., spoke with Marcus. "Killed him with a shiv he kept under the mattress. You came back about 15 minutes later, and you say you didn't notice a body lying on the floor?" Aiden looked away, his voice barely audible. "I saw him." Lauren didn't flinch. "You saw the body. You saw the blood. You knew he was dead." "Yes," Aiden admitted. "I panicked, but you didn't raise the alarm." "I thought they blamed me," he said. "I had motive. Marcus found out about my plan for revenge. I was his cellmate. Who would believe I didn't do it? So you pretended not to notice? And went to sleep next to a corpse?" "I know it sounds insane, but I was in shock. I didn't know what else to do. I thought maybe it was better to wait until morning. Let the guards find him. Let someone else deal with it." Lauren stared at him. "And let the real killer walk away." "I didn't know who did it," Aiden said, finally looking up. "I thought it was Morgan. He hated me more than he hated Marcus. If I said anything, he'd find a way to pin it on me." His explanation added another layer to the tangled web of lies and fear that surrounded Marcus's death. But Lauren still wasn't satisfied. She returned to Dr. Bennett's office for a final round of questioning. "Dr. Bennett," she began, "I'm prepared to accept your confession, but we need to clarify a few more things." "I've already told you everything," the doctor replied, exhausted. "Not quite," Lauren said. Aiden Brooks admitted to seeing Marcus's body when he returned to the cell. He didn't raise the alarm because he feared being accused. But what's strange is he assumed you'd left no trace. Dr. Bennett frowned. "That's odd. I was sure he wouldn't notice anything in the dark." "I also found Marcus's letter," Lauren continued, "and his detailed report on the prison corruption. He really did collect evidence against all of you." Dr. Bennett's expression twisted. Where did you find it?" "In the prison chapel," Lauren said, pausing. "Exactly where Marcus said it would be, hidden in the spine of a Bible." Dr. Bennett's shoulders slumped. The last ounce of defiance drained from her eyes. It was over. In his suicide letter, Marcus said he knew one of you would try to kill him, so he prepared for it. Dr. Bennett went pale. Her hands trembled slightly. "I didn't know anything about a letter." "You couldn't have," Lauren replied. "He wrote it after your conversation on March 16th, after you threatened him. That's when he realized his life was in danger." There was a long pause. Dr. Bennett sat motionless, staring at a fixed point on the floor. "I want the full truth, Dr. Bennett. From the beginning." The doctor inhaled deeply, then slowly exhaled. "It started 2 years ago. A small scheme. Just pills at first. I forged documents. Dalton acted as a distraction during inmate intake. Morgan would sneak the pills inside. Marcus Reed and Aiden Brooks handled distribution to the rest of the inmates. Everyone got their cut." Lauren said nothing, letting her continue. "But over time," Dr. Bennett went on, "it got bigger. More drugs, more inmates involved, more risk. And then Marcus, he got greedy. He wanted more money, more power. When he found out he was HIV positive, he snapped. Said he'd burn the entire operation down unless we met his demands." "What exactly did he demand?" "First, money. A lot of it. Then he wanted help with his parole. I told him I didn't have that kind of influence. But he wouldn't listen. He believed I could fake medical records, sway the parole board. He was convinced. And that's when you decided to kill him?" "Not right away," she said, shaking her head. "I tried to negotiate. On March 16th, I met him in the infirmary. I offered a compromise. He refused, said he had already prepared everything. He'd hand it all to the warden the morning of March 18th. "So you chose murder." Dr. Bennett nodded slowly, tears forming in her eyes. "I panicked. My career, my life, everything was in jeopardy. On the night of the 17th, I asked Officer Ramirez to open Marcus's cell. I told him it was for an emergency medical checkup. Marcus was lying on the bunk. Calm, almost peaceful. What did he say? He said he'd been expecting me," she said quietly. He told me I was the most obvious one. Morgan was too cowardly. Aiden was too in love. Lauren's eyes narrowed. And the weapon? He showed it to me himself, Dr. Bennett admitted. A shiv hidden under the mattress. Said he took it from Morgan. Called it symbolic. Said it was his last line of defense. He turned his back, and I don't know what happened. I just snapped. One blow, and it was over. What did you do afterward? I panicked. I told Ramirez Reed was asleep and not to disturb him until morning. Then I went home. I sat in a daze all night, waiting for the knock on my door. Lauren looked at her for a long time, then reached for her handcuffs. Dr. Olivia Bennett, she said, you are under arrest for the murder of Marcus Reed. A week later, as Lauren completed her investigative report, she reflected on the twisted tragedy that had unfolded inside the walls of Riverdale Prison. A place designed for reform had instead become a breeding ground for crime, corruption, and despair. Dr. Olivia Bennett had confessed to murder and was now awaiting trial. Officer Jack Morgan had been suspended and remained under investigation for drug smuggling and abuse of power. Nurse Dalton agreed to cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for a reduced sentence. As for Aiden Brooks, Lauren couldn't help but feel a pang of empathy. A young man, broken by years of childhood abuse, had come to prison seeking revenge. But instead, he found more pain, more betrayal, more loss. He wasn't charged as an accessory to murder, but he did receive extra time for failing to report the crime. On the final day of her investigation, Lauren visited Aiden in his new cell, now relocated to a different block. How are you holding up? She asked. Aiden shrugged, getting on with life. What else is there to do? Did you love him? Lauren asked softly. Marcus. Aiden was silent for a long time before replying. I don't know what love is, detective, but I know that when he died, something inside me died too. And the revenge? Do you feel it's done? No, Aiden said, shaking his head. Revenge solves nothing. It doesn't bring back what was lost. Doesn't heal wounds. I realized that too late. Lauren nodded. What's next for you? I'll serve my time, he said. Try to start over. Maybe someday I'll learn to forgive others and myself. As Lauren left the prison for the last time, her thoughts weighed heavily. She thought about the cycle of violence, the unhealed trauma, the way institutions built to correct often concealed right within their own walls. Maybe justice doesn't start with punishment. Maybe it starts with truth, with healing, with understanding. But in a world of high walls and rigid rules, the path to that kind of justice was long and lonely. As Lauren got in her car and looked back one final time at the grim silhouette of Riverdale Prison, she saw not just a building, but a vault of broken lives, of unspoken pain and stories that never should have happened. And in that silence, she carried with her one final truth. Despair left unchecked could turn any soul into something unrecognizable.